Now, guess what? You're right on time for the 5 things that you're not supposed to do until you get yourself rich. And by the way, these are things that people do before they actually get there, and they ruin their lives completely with reference to the finances. All right. And by the way, if you're watching me for the first time, this is Good Joseph speaking. I talk about all about investment and money. I have over 800 videos, and you can go check them out there. Okay, all right. And by the way, don't forget to like the video. It doesn't cost you nothing. And also make sure that you subscribe to this channel, because I upload a video each and every day you come. Let me show you something. See, there's some of the things that you're not supposed to do until you are actually confirm yourself as a wealthy individual, as a rich individual. And the very first thing that you're not supposed to do is to do not buy living status. Focus on investment first. You see, most of the things that I usually see people doing is that the moment you try to get, or the moment maybe say you're employed, you've been actually spending a lot of time outside there without a salary, now you have the money with you, or maybe you're having a business, you have some signs that the business is doing good, some things, you have those, we call them, you see some sort of a green light and something of sort, all of a sudden you get yourself a certain kind of a lifestyle. At that particular situation, that's when now you start to squander your cash. What you're not supposed to do is to buy yourself a living status. See, what happens now, there is nothing wrong with you having yourself a given lifestyle or a given living status or something. There's nothing wrong. We are not against it. But what you're supposed to do for now are the preliminaries of the start. Invest. Focus on the investment. Now, what you get from the investments, aka the baby money or the passive income, or whatever you get as a cash flow from the investments, is what now should pamper you, is what should feed you, should give you all the lifestyle that you need and all the living status that you want. That very nice place that you'd love to live, that very nice clothing, the branding, or the, those, what you call them, the designer clothing and what have you, the affiliate marketing, somewhere you would love to live and shop and all those kind of things. So the point is, first of all, for now, focus on growing yourself. Do not focus on the end result. Do not focus on those things that actually make you happy and all. For now, it's all about sacrifice, discipline, and consistency. Those are the things that brings a difference in someone's life. So avoid that when you are starting up, so that at least you can be able to do something. And there are a variety of areas that you can be able to invest. And when you talk about investment, yeah, I know it sounds like a big name, but the fact remains, you don't have to have a lot of money for you to get into the investments. On this channel, I always talk about investments like MMF, bills, bonds, businesses, personal growth, skills, all those areas. Commodities, you can get into the gold, you can get into the wheat, you can get into the oil, you can get into the currencies. All those are areas where you can be able to buy properties. Those are areas that you can be able to buy based on your ability. You nurture those things, because those are the assets that generate you income. Now the cash flow that you get, now that's what's supposed to actually feed or have yourself a living status and all those kind of things. Most of these guys whom you usually see are with these big cars, they usually achieve those after they have invested. Okay, the number two, or the second thing that you're not supposed to do until you get rich, is that do not seek comfort too early. See, one of the other things that I usually see people do is that they seek comfort. They just want everything on the table, everything, and this obviously it costs money, because the luxury and the comfort comes with expenses. Obviously, that's for sure. So the point is this: I know you would love to go for that place, that very nice, elegant beach, tropical beaches, and all those safaris, rides, and what have you. Having yourself those nice and wonderful meals, expensive coffees, and what have you, and dates. There is nothing wrong, again, I would say. But when you seek comfort too early, number one, you tend not to actually, what you're supposed to be disturbed at all the occasion. See, by the way, they usually say that comfort is the enemy of progress. The moment you get something, you get satisfied. Oh, amazing, I've made it now. This is it. Oh, by the time now you realize you've squandered everything that you've actually gathered together. So what you're supposed to be is just to be disturbed, especially if you're from 21 years all the way to 46 years, other 45 years. I always tell people at that age bracket, focus solely on growing yourself, grow yourself, move yourself to the next level. That is exactly what you're supposed to do. And then after that, again, it's not a call for you to squander your cash. Again, after that, by the way, you see, again, it's also good to be very careful not to become the slave of the money, because there are people who usually become the slave of the money. Because, by the way, there is a very thin line between being greedy and aggressive. Supposed to know there is a very thin line. So what you're supposed to understand, yes, I'm supposed to be aggressive. I'm not supposed to be comfortable with what I'm getting. I'm supposed to invest to grow myself. But obviously, there's a certain age that you reach in life when you've invested. Now, at that particular point, there is nothing wrong going in those, beautiful places, the Monacos and what have you, enjoying your life, and going to the Diani in Mombasa in Kenya and all those kind of things. So it is good to make sure that at least for now, do not seek those comfort, because when it comes to comfort, actually that's a graveyard for your cash. You're not supposed to do exactly that. All right, let's go to the point number three. Point number three is that do not get into what we call unending cycles of debt. There is nothing wrong with you getting loans and debt, but what happens is this: you get wrong information from these gurus who tell you can create wealth using the debt. You can create, yes, it is true, you can create wealth. By the way, it's an amazing tool that you can use for you to create debt, or rather to create wealth as you move along the way. But there is something I would love to share with you on this case regard. If you're actually borrowing to invest, there is nothing wrong, provided you've actually done all the calculations, you've actually monitored where you're getting your money into, and you've actually monitored the fact that the debt that I'm getting, it is not unhealthy debt. By the way, you know there are two types of debts. We have the healthy and unhealthy debt. Unhealthy debt is when you borrow to actually feed your consumables, or you actually borrow to feed things that actually makes you happy and all those. Well, if investing makes you happy, then there is nothing wrong with you borrowing, investing or getting your money into that thing that makes you happy. But the thing is this: if you're actually borrowing to sustain your life by feeding yourself, or maybe by paying the water bills, paying the school fees, school fees may be debatable, but the point is, it is always good to make sure that at least you get the debt to make sure that you channel that money towards an investment that is actually giving you the cash flow now that you can be able to use, not only to give yourself a lifestyle and a living status, just like we said, but also to make sure that you be able to pay that debt so that you can snatch yourself out of the unhealthy situation. Because there's one thing I will tell you: see, this debt can actually not only affect your finances, but it can as well affect your health. Because when you're not mentally okay, can you just imagine this? You have unhealthy debt, you don't have the means and ways on how you can be able to pay back that debt. It is really disturbing you. You don't even have what we call the mental clarity. And when you lack the mental clarity, even making a conscious decision and a better decision, you cannot be able to do so. So it's always good to show, when you take the debt, invest in an area where it's generating some cash to pay itself, and also kind of give you a certain lifestyle. You get what I'm saying? So there is nothing wrong with debt, but take it with caution and cautious. You're supposed to be very cautious on that specific thing. Let's go to the point number 4, and this point is none other than, don't try to solve all your family's problems. Let me tell you one secret. Yeah, I know you love your family members. I know you would love to make sure that everyone is stable and good and happy, having their life, the best life that you can ever give them, and all those factors. There is nothing wrong with that. I support that 100% sure. They are our family members. Even biblically, we are supposed to help our relatives. But the point is this: when you take all these responsibilities way earlier, lending them your cash, taking your cash out there, and some of this money that you're lending them, obviously you do not have the agreement that they're gonna pay you back. So what happens is that the moment you get yourself into this situation, the moment you promise something that you cannot be able to deliver, or the moment you show something that you cannot be able to sort of sustain it for a longer period of time, you're gonna create a lot of enemies. So what I would tell you to do is that try as much as you can, as much as you're helping them, do not get yourself into commitment. Don't commit into helping somebody. When I say don't commit into helping somebody, I don't mean like you don't help people. Help them, but do not let them develop a reliance towards you. Because if that happens, the moment that you're not in a position to, not financially, but let's say you have some sort of a cash crunch at that particular point, then, by the way, have you ever understand one thing? Have you ever seen things about life? Is that the moment you give somebody something for the first time, they're so appreciative, they're so happy about it, they congratulate you, they tell you you're an amazing person, you have a good heart, you're an amazing soul. You give them the second time, they give you the same thing. You give them the third time, the appreciation keep on going down. The more you do it, the appreciation keep on going down, to a point whereby you just give them, they're like, thank you. To a point whereby now, if you don't give them, now they actually caution you, ask you, hey, where's the thing? Because now they no longer view you helping them as your will, but they are right. So it is good to make sure that at least you draw a very thin line between that. You draw a boundary. I always tell people it is good to help them, but at the same time, it's a video that I made and I dedicated a whole 15 minutes explaining to you why, honestly speaking, you need to be sort of stingy, strict, and also you need to be an individual who is frugal if you want to create wealth. That's a reality. You need to be an individual with that, where you scrutinize every coin that actually gets in and get out. That is the only way that you can be able to create something out of that exactly thing. But if you just be an individual who is just, you're free, you're just an individual who can be twisted by anybody at any given point, especially by the family members, you can get yourself into ruins. And the moment you're into ruins, guess what happens now? You're expecting them to help you and uplift you because you are doing so during their time. Now, guess what they say? You don't have the brain, you're not even smart, you could have taken care of yourself, you shouldn't be even in this situation. If I was the situation that you are in, I wouldn't be where you are right now. See, all those accusations and what have you. So it is good to make sure that you actually be smart when you're doing this kind of a thing. So by the way, if you ask me to talk about this topic, or rather this area about the family members and money and what have you, I can talk for the next 3 hours. So So I will not do that. Go ahead and check that older video that I just made some few weeks ago or something of sort. Go check that video. You're gonna get the information. Let's go to the point, the last point. Don't be an emotional spender. Simple. This is another graveyard for your cash. Simple. Do not be an emotional spender. What exactly does it mean? See, I always tell you guys there are two organs in our body that actually respond to money differently. We have our brain and we have our heart. The way our brain actually approaches the money is different from how the heart approaches it. And I'm going to give you a very typical example if you're employed. See, how do you usually feel the moment you get paid? All right, so you feel good, and the heart is like, oh my goodness, now you just got paid. Can you just imagine the pain that you went through all that month, all that week, all that day? Can you just imagine, how you struggled? Actually, you were not even able to afford to get yourself a coffee or get yourself a nyama choma. Nyama choma is a very popular delicacy in Kenya. So you're like, this is the time, this time that, do you remember that carpet that you saw? Do you remember that thing? Do you remember that outing? Do you remember that safari drive that you said? This is the time now. You got the cash. Get yourself happy. It's all about life is short. Life is for the living. Throw the parties. In Kenya, we call it sherehe. Kuchapa sherehe simply means that throwing parties all over the place. Now, the point is, at that particular point, guess which organ is actually talking to you? You're right. That is your heart. That is the emotional part of you. And by the way, you'll be shocked if I tell you this. The emotional part of our people, most of the people, is actually more elevated than the logical part, especially when it comes to cash. Most of the people tend to be emotionally attached to the money than logically attached to it. Now, you go do all those things that the heart has told you or the emotions has told you. Guess what happens now? Now, after you've squandered all the money, because basically it's like a squandering anyway, then towards, like, let's say maybe you get paid at first of whatever, the new month. Maybe you squander the money until the 10th, at the 11th, you got no cash. At that particular point, now the logical kicks in. Now, like, oh my goodness. Joseph talks about money market fund. I think I should have parted ways with some few coins and get into the money market. I think I should have gotten into shares. You know what? By the way, I've been employed for the last 15 years now. You see, I haven't done anything. But then I should think about, you know what? I'm growing old. In 5 years' time, I'm going for a retire. You see, oh my God. I think next time. Now, the logic part of you now starts to kick in. Now, the reality shades on. And by the way, I don't know why people become smart when they do not, when they, let me not use that term, because if there's something, by the way, my brothers and sisters, that I hate in my life, is I hate poverty. And there is no nobility in poverty. I am telling you, there is no nobility in that thing. And you should hate that thing, but with all your heart, with all your feelings and all your emotions. So the reality is this now. So you've squandered all that money because you had the emotional part of you talking to you. Now what happens? Now you come into a situation whereby you have no cash. So what you're supposed to do is to engage the logical part immediately when you get paid. Now you're like, I got the cash, okay? Do I have a working budget, okay? 10,000 goes for this, 5,000 goes for this, 3,000 goes for this, 2,000 goes for this. Like, you have a working budget. All the money is channeled towards the areas. I'm supposed to save 20,000. I've saved that. I'm supposed to save 2, 3, 4, whatever the amount of money that you're able to. So I've channeled that money towards that specific area. So you make sure that all the baskets are filled, like basket of savings. And by the way, I told you guys, you're supposed to have the saving as your bill. You see the way you usually pay your rent, or maybe you pay your utilities like water and electricity. You're supposed to have a savings as a bill. Should be a bill to you. They will usually have a bill. Now, savings is a bill that you must pay, so that at least you'll be able to safeguard your future. All right. So that is exactly what you're supposed to do. All right. So what are you supposed to do? The moment the money kicks in, you're supposed to engage the logical part by the time the emotional part shows up. That way, you can actually not only safeguard your mental health, but as well be able to safeguard what you call the finances. That is exactly what we do. You know what, guys? That marks the end of my video. But don't forget this. On 19th of May, that's going to be on a Sunday, 19th of May 2024, I'm going to have a live session on a Google Meet video call where we're going to talk about financial bootcamp, where we're going to talk about everything related to finances. All right? So you can be able to be part of this, and the only thing you need to do is just have 1,500, just like $15. Go ahead and grab that number of mine, shoot me a call, and then we can be able to go ahead and have a discussion at that particular point, and we have a discussion. That is exactly what we do. For now, it's a goodbye, and see you in the next one. But before I even go, make sure that you hit that like button. If you didn't, make sure that you subscribe and leave me a comment on the comment section. Did you get value for this time? For those 15 or 40 minutes also? See you the next time.